Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. We will make learning English both funny and effective. In this series, I will be sharing with you the exact method I use to improve my English. Every day I will take in a page from the famous the five on Treasure Island, read it with you and focusing on 20 new words from that page. Together we will exploring their meanings, learning how to use them in a sentence, and even to some simple exercise to understand the page better. To make it easy for you, I will provide a PDF version of the book in the description box below. This steps-by-steps approach helping me a lot, and I am confident it will help you too. So let's start this journey together and make learning English an enjoyable experience. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and join me every day for a new lesson. Today I will exploring with you the page 15. Read it and explanation. Your guide to mastering English. 20 vocabulary words. Smiled, altered, sunny, kettled, awfully, nodded, cheery, barked, fierce, sulky. Punishment. Obstinately, babyish, miserable, respect. Hold, fisher boy, pocket money, shaky, tickled. The little girl smiled, and her face altered at once, and became sunny and pretty. She sat down on the sand, and her dog cuddled up to her, licking her wherever he could find a bare piece of kind. I love him awfully, she said. I found him out on the moors when he was just a pup a year ago, and I took him home. At first, Mother liked him, but when he grew bigger, he got terrible naughty. What did he do? Asked Aunt. Well, he's an awfully chewy kind of dog, said George. He chewed up everything he could. A new rug Mother had bought, her nicest hat. Father separated some of his paper and things like that, and he barked too. I liked his bark, but Father didn't. He said it nearly drove him mad. He hit Timothy, and that made me angry, so I was awfully rude to him. Did you get spanked? Said Aunt. I wouldn't like to be rude to your father. He looked fierce. George looked out over the bed. Her face had gone sulky again. Well, it doesn't matter what punishment I got, she said. But the worst part of all was when Father said I couldn't keep Timothy anymore. And Mother backed Father up and said Tim must go. I cried for days, and I never do cry, because boys don't, and I like to be like a boy. Boys do cry sometimes, began and looking at Dick, who had been a bit of a cried baby 3 or 4 years back. Dick gave her a sharp nudge, and she said no more. George looked at Anne. Boys don't cry, she said obstinately. Anyway, I've never seen one. and I always try not to cry myself. It's so babyish. But I just couldn't help it when Timothy had to go. He cried too. The children looked with great respect at Timothy. They had not known that a dog could cry before. Do you mean he cried real tears? Asked Anne. No, not quite, said George. He's too brave for that. He cried with his voice, howled and looked so miserable that he nearly broke my heart. And then I knew I couldn't possibly part with him. What happened then? Asked Julian. I went to Alf, a fisher boy I know, said George, and I asked him if he'd keep Tim for me, if I paid him all the pocket money I get. He said he would, and so he does. That's why I never have any money to spend. It all had to go on Tim. He seems to eat an awful lot, don't you, Tim? Woof, said Tim, and rolled over on his back, all his shaggy legs in the air. Julian tickled him. The explanation of the 20 important words from the text smiled to form a happy or friendly expression with her mouth, altered, changed, or modified in some way. Sunny, bright, and cheerful, like the sun. Cuddled, to hold someone or something close in a loving or affectionate way. Awfully, very, or extremely, often used for emphasis. Naughty, behaving badly or mischievously. Chewy, something that requires a lot of chewing, like tough food or a dog that likes to chew objects. Barked, the sound a dog makes. Fierce, strong, intense, or aggressive in appearance or behavior. Sulky, in a bad mood or acting unhappy and resentful. Punishment, a penalty given for doing something wrong. Obstinately, stubbornly refusing to change one's opinion or behavior. Babyish, acting in a childish or immature way. Miserable, very unhappy or uncomfortable. Respect, a feeling of admiration or deep regard for someone or something. Howled, a long, loud cry, often made by a dog or wolf. Fisher boy, a boy who works or lives by fishing. Pocket money, a small amount of money given regularly to a child, usually by their parents. Shaggy, having long, untidy hair or fur. Tickled, to lightly touch someone in a way that makes them laugh or feel amused. Opposite, smiled, frowned, altered, maintained. Sunny, gloomy, cattled, pushed away, awfully, slightly, naughty, well behaved, chewy, soft, barked, whispered, fierce, gentle, sulky, cheerful, punishment, reward, obstinately, flexibly, babyish, mature, miserable, happy, respect, disrespect, howled, whispered, fisher boy, landlubber, someone unfamiliar with the sea. Pocket money, dead. Shaggy, neat. Tickled, slapped. 8 comprehension questions based on the text, each with 4 answer options to help you understand the story better. Why did George's father want to get rid of Timothy? Timothy was too small. Timothy was too noisy and destructive. Timothy didn't like George. Timothy was sick. In the text, he shouted up everything he could. The answer: Timothy was too noisy and destroyed, is the answer. Question number 2. How did George feel when her father said Timothy had to go? She was happy, she cried and felt miserable, she didn't care, she laughed. In the text, but the worst part of all was when father said, I couldn't keep Timothy anymore. And the mother picked father up and said, Timothy must go. I cried of day. Yes, is the answer. I cried for days. The answer is she cried and felt miserable. Is the answer. Question number 3. What did George do to keep Timothy? She gave him to neighborhood. She paid a fisher boy to take care of him. She sent him to live on the moors. She sold him. In the text, I went to Alf, a fisher boy I know, said George, and I asked him if has kept Timothy for me if I paid him all the pocket money I get? Yes, is the answer. I want to off a fisher boy I know, said George, and I asked him if he'd keep Timothy for me. The answer? She paid a fisher boy to keep care of Timothy, of him, is the answer B. Why doesn't George have any pocket money? She spent it at all costs. She given it to her parents. She used it to take care of Timothy. She lost it. In the text, in the text, I went to Alpha, a fisher boy I know, said George, and I asked him if he'd keep Timothy for me if I paid him all the pocket money I get. He said he would, and so he does. That's why I never have any money to spend, is the answer. She used it to take care of Timothy. Question: what does George say about boys and crying? Boys crying all the time. Boys never crying. Boys crying sometimes, but she trying not to. Boys crying only when there is babies. In the text, boys don't cry, she said obstinately. Anyway, I've never seen one, and I always try not to cry myself. It's so babyish, is the answer. How did Timothy react when he had to leave George? He barked happily. He howled and looked miserable. He ran away. He beat George. The answer in the text: no, not quite, said George. He is too brave for that. He cried with his voice, howled and looked so miserable. Yes, is the answer. He howled and looked miserable. What does George like about Timothy? He's quiet and calm. He is playful and chewy. He is small and cute. He doesn't eat much. In the text, what did he do? Asked Anne. Well, he is an awful chewy kind of dog, is the answer. He is playful and chewy. What does George's father think about Timothy's barking? He loves it. It makes him happy. It nearly drives him mad. He doesn't notice it. In the text, he had bracket too. I like him back, but father didn't. He said it nearly drove him mad. Yes, is the answer. It nearly drove him mad. To better understand and memorize the 20 words we will sharing today, I've provided a series of exercises for you to follow. You found the PDF in the description box. Find in the blanket and the answer. Conversation you can practicing with yourself and write exercise, crossword puzzle, and word search puzzle. In the end, Goodbye and see you in another video.
Subscribe now.